Today we continue to look at upgrading each of the precons from Battle for Baldur's Gate. I'll be doing videos on all 4 commander decks, and today's will be on the new Gruul deck, Exit from Exile. If you want to know when those new commander videos post, be sure to click the subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of all new videos coming out. With that out of the way, let's take a look at Exit from Exile. Exit from Exile is a very interesting deck, and I'm a big fan of what the deck is trying to accomplish. I really like the planar portal deck, and I'm glad we're getting more of the Cast from Exile mechanic. Prosper Tomebound is a fun commander, and my child loves their Prosper deck. Now, this series of videos will all be $50 upgrades, give or take, which means that you can pick up the precon at your local game store for $50, then spend another $50 on singles, and have yourself a fun and interactive deck. I understand that not everyone has access to a local game store and has to rely on Amazon to order their sealed products. If that sounds like you, please use my affiliate link below. It really does help the channel. But before just tossing in upgrades at random, we need to take a look at the Exit from Exile's deck, figure out what it's trying to do, and then compare it to our checklist. This way we can figure out what its weaknesses are and how we can work around them. Exit from Exile, like most pre-constructed decks, has a core theme and a sub-theme. The core theme of the deck is the Cast from Exile mechanic. We have Cascade, Adventures, Suspend, and a variety of spells that let us play cards from Exile. The sub-theme is +1/+1 counters. Not a lot, but it does exist. The problem I found is that commander decks don't work well with the sub-theme, unless it ties into our main theme. Because this deck is a go-wide that takes advantage of casting extra spells from Exile, having that sub-theme of making our creatures bigger actually works quite well for us. But before we look at making additions to the deck, we should figure out what we're cutting. In order to do that, we should compare the list against our checklist. My checklist consists of the following: 50 mana sources, usually split between 37 lands and 13 pieces of ramp, though this can vary based on the average mana value and a variety of other factors. 10 pieces of card advantage. These are cards that net you cards or allow you to dig for answers or even turn cards from the graveyard into your hand or battlefield. This can also mean tutors or consistent scry effects, but not cantrips that only draw you a single card. 8 to 10 pieces of spot removal. It doesn't just have to be spot removal, it can remove more than one threat but isn't really a board wipe. I also include stacks effects in this category, but I don't believe in going for nothing but stacks. 2 to 3 board wipes. Some decks you want more, some less. But with every deck, you sometimes find yourself falling behind and need to hit the reset button. But if we can manage board wipes that leave our stuff alone, all the better. 2 pieces of graveyard hate. There are lots of decks that rely on their graveyard and use it as a resource. Whether you're removing a couple of key cards, exiling all graveyards, or shuffling them back into your opponent's library, you want to have answers for those opponents. 1 sudden I win card. This is more of a flavor card than anything else. Yes, you can combo off and win the game with this card, but it's not always necessary. I will sometimes build decks with multiple sudden win cons, while others are more grindfests. It really depends on what kind of deck I'm building, but it's important to keep this slot in mind. So keeping that checklist in mind, let's take a look at Exit from Exile. 54 mana sources, split between 39 lands and 15 pieces of ramp. We can probably make some cuts here. 22 pieces of card advantage, but a lot of that is Cascade, so we may trim a bit here. 4 board wipes, again, probably needs a cut. 10 pieces of interaction, not too bad. No graveyard hate. 1 sudden I win card in End-Raze Forerunners. Okay, so it looks like we don't need to make a ton of changes to this deck, but we do want some graveyard hate. We could also use a bit more interaction, but we can add to the power of this deck and enhance what it's trying to do. So to start, let's cut the bad cards that don't belong and replace them with cards that better fit our core theme of casting spells from Exile. To start, Explore isn't a bad magic card per se, but we already have lots of card draw, so we're cutting it for Scavenging Ooze, which gives us some nice targeted graveyard hate. Up next, Hornet Queen is getting the axe and getting replaced with Atsushi, the Blazing Sky. Our land count is quite high, especially considering we don't have any consistent ways to play multiple land cards per turn, like with Azusa Lost But Seeking or Dryad of the Elysian Grove. So we're cutting Temple of the False God for a Braid and replacing Gruul Turf with Naturalize. Greater Gargadon actually works quite well in this deck, as it has Suspend built into it. but most games of Commander don't last 10 rounds anymore, so we'll be replacing it with Professional Facebreaker. Next up, I did want to thank WotC for adding such a bad card to every single Commander deck. Makes my job easier. Sandworm Convergence is getting replaced with Urabrask Heretic Praetor. This card is low-key amazing and one of the best stacks pieces in Commander. Now, while I don't exactly hate Primeval Bounty, I'm not a huge fan of it in this deck, so we're going to swap it out for Vandal Blast. Finally, Azuri's Predation, a card that is attempting to end games, gets replaced by a card that can actually end games, Craterhoof Behemoth. So let's take a look at our upgraded deck and see how it checks out. 52 mana sources, a bit lower, but more in line with what we want. 21 sources of card advantage, high, but that's okay. 14 pieces of interaction, 3 board wipes, 1 piece of graveyard hate, and 2 sudden I win cards. So we did a good job at increasing the deck's power level, and I'm excited to see what this deck can do. My child has expressed interest in the deck despite despising green. But until they make up their minds on which Commander deck I should build for them, this one or Wilson Refined Grizzly, we'll have to wait and see. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to Maynard at Cute Stuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, there's a link to her Fiverr page below. Please like and subscribe for more Commander content, or you can click here for more deck tech videos. I've also started a Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Damon or click the link in the description below. Again, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all again next time on Commander by Damon.